And we are live. So, welcome to episode 114 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
My pleasure.
And we've got, once again, back here two nights in a row, we've got Radical Rod. Being
Hello.
Terry. And thanks for joining us once again. We were saying yesterday, before we got on, that we hadn't seen Rod since The Fly.
January.
Yeah, since January. Rod hadn't been here since The Fly, so that was a good long while. And I had thought that I had fucked up and not offered Rod any shows, but he's like, no, I picked those shows because remember when I made the calendar for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
In January, in December or January, I made the calendar for 6 months. And he was like, no, I picked those movies out that I wanted to get in a while ago. So I was glad about that. And
The Fly was the first one I picked off that calendar. And then it wasn't until this.
It wasn't until this. And
or yesterday.
So, I'm glad we were able to do that one yesterday. That was fun. This is better. I'm not going to lie. This was the first time I had seen Candyman.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this was the first time I had seen Candyman, and I'm a huge Clive Barker fan. I'm an enormous Tony Todd fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fucking galaxy-sized fan of Virginia Madsen.
Wow, that's surprising you never seen it.
Just never got around to it. I wasn't avoiding it or anything like that. It was just one of those things that just, it just never happened. And so here we are in 2022, 30 years of Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
30 years. And I saw it this morning.
Wow.
Rod was getting off the so I start out with that's how fucked up I am. I start my day with fucking Candyman. I'm having coffee.
Wow.
I'm having coffee and Candyman. That's how my Thursday morning is.
What a breakfast.
Yeah, and then I go for a run, and then I'll lift some weights, and then I apply for some jobs, and go hang out with my dad for a little bit, and read my book, and and now watch some Babylon 5, and now I'm here. But it was just it's fucking great. So if you're ready, let's just not dick around. Shall we get to it?
Yes, sir. Come on, let's go.
All righty. So, Candyman, to me, is another example of a fantastic 90s movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this time and again, about the 90s were just this magical time for movies, for small to mid-budget movies with really good stories, great performances, solid directors. You're meeting Quentin Tarantino for the first time, Robert Rodriguez, Spike Jonze, Spike Lee, Kevin Smith, all of these guys who are doing these fantastic movies, these gritty.
David Fincher.
We're meeting Fincher for the first time, who are doing these gritty movies with good actors, good performances. They're not blockbusters, character-driven stories, some less, some more.
Yeah.
But the 90s were just a fantastic time. And I think to some extent, we're starting to see that in this decade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing, I've been talking about franchises and things like that, but I'm seeing that people are starting to fall back. And I think the wave is starting to break. There's a stream that I follow on Friday. It's called Friday Night Tights with the guy Nerdrotic. And he does a 3 to 4 hour stream. And he has all kinds of guests on there. This week, he's actually having Alex Jones. Alex Jones is coming onto his stream.
Oh, that's going to be a trip.
Yeah, now he talks about movies. He talks about comics. He talks about movies. He's not talking about politics.
Okay.
He's talking about Marvel. He's talking about Disney. He's talking about Star Wars. These types of things. This is a guy who's mine and Rod's age. He's like 52, 53. Used to own a comic book store. He's got an entire wall just full of like 1,000. There must be like 500 collectibles just on his wall from like a lifetime of doing this sort of stuff. This guy has, I think, last week he had 10,000 people in his stream.
Holy shit!
Wow.
10,000 people in his stream, and all of those people are sick of the same things in terms of franchises and all these sorts of things that I talk about. So it's not just like 5 or 6 people, or there's a lot of people out there that are tired of the way these things are going with the big glossy blockbusters. And I think to some extent we're starting to get some relief in smaller companies like IFC for this generation, for this decade, from A24, and those types of things. So I think the wave is starting to break. I think in another 3 years. It's going to be like the 90s. It comes and goes in phases. After that, we've had 20 years of comic movies and, whatever else, Lord of the Rings and, mega. I think we've had 6 Star Wars movies, this, that, and the other, but starting to fall back on these types of movies. And I was a little embarrassed to say, this was the first time I'd seen it.
You're never too late, though, man. And
yeah,
I was wondering. Because lots of times, we brought up horror movies and we've never discussed Candyman. So I just had it in the back of my mind. What if this is one of those movies that you hadn't seen and you'd already, selected to us to watch this? And I'm like, I really hope you dig this one because there's a lot to love in this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew you liked.
Yeah, when I
Clive
brought it
Barker
up,
a
Michael,
lot.
you weren't too into it. You weren't too into trying to see Candyman for some reason. But I'm glad that you got a chance to see it.
When you
I
brought
knew
it
that
up,
you appreciate it.
Well, you brought it up, but if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, you wanted to watch the new one. And if I'm not mistaken,
wanted to watch the new one, yeah.
Right, and I said I wanted to watch the other one first with Tony Todd, although I hadn't disclosed that I hadn't seen the one with Tony Todd yet. So I wanted to get this one out of the way, and now we've, in a couple of weeks we're going to get to the newer version that's up on the streaming channels now. This is just really solid, based on Barker's short story, The Foundation. There's a lot to unpack.
The Forbidden, that's what I thought.
The Forbidden, yeah. What did I say? The Foundation?
Yeah.
The Forbidden. Okay, The Forbidden. You've got a lot of modern sort of folklore going on here, coming from post-Civil War now into the 90s, the 1990s in Chicago. There's a really good thread of social and maybe even racial disparity in this movie, and how, this project is sort of set up between all these upper middle class or, rich sort of people. It's sort of surrounded by a city that sort of has forgotten it, or just kind of thrown in the towel on it.
Yep.
They've just kind of given up and abandoned it. And, it makes a point of recognizing that a lot of the people that are living there, or some of the people that are living there, or maybe most of the people that are living there aren't bad people, but they are trapped. They are trapped. They're trapped there. And today, I don't know that the point would be driven home quite as well as it was done back then. This is really good writing.
Yeah, Cabrini Green is totally gone.
Yeah.
They tore the whole thing down. It's totally gone. And everyone's moved to the South Side. And then because of that, I think that's why the major gang violence has, has spiked in Chicago, because they took a whole different, gang situation and brought it to the South Side and around other gangs, and it's blowing up into the Chirac that it is right now.
Yeah, a lot of I think maybe 40 to 50% of them actually came to my hometown when they tore down Cabrini Green. They moved into our area because my hometown has a huge college, and that's where a lot of them came.
Yeah. Well, you get cheap housing around those colleges.
Yep.
Chicago is right now probably the most violent city in America. There's probably a dozen or more people that get shot and killed like every weekend.
Easily.
Small, mid two figures, 30, 40 people shot, 10, somewhere between 8 to 12 killed like every single weekend. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy in there.
I've never been to Cabrini Green, and I know they filmed a lot of those scenes like physically there. I don't know how much it was. I don't know if they filmed the interior shots. I know some of the exterior shots were at the actual Cabrini Green, and there was gang activity and stuff like that. And a lot of them
they had to bribe.
Yep.
They had to negotiate with the gangs. A lot of the gang members are extras in the movie.
That was their air quotes, their payment, I guess you'd say behave or whatever. Hey, put us in the movie and we'll let you film here type of thing.
Yeah. And nevertheless, they said a bullet round went through one of the filming vans.
Yep.
Although no one ever, owned up to it.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
So, when I lived in Chicago, I stayed away from Cabrini Green. Totally stayed away. I've driven past it once, but no, it's on the north side. It was on the north side too. The north side of Chicago, which is, the disparity with Chicago is, all the black people live in south and everyone else lived in the north side. So, and the city, actual downtown splits it up. And Chicago's actually, Cabrini Green is actually on the north end of Chicago, which was surprising, but it was very entrapped, very secluded area that no one would go around that area.
I've only been to Chicago one time, and it was Eric. You wouldn't know this. I actually lived with Rod for about 6 months when I was when he was out in L.A. And I took a train from Philadelphia to Los Angeles. Which was actually really cool, and we had like a 10-hour layover in Chicago, and what I saw, by letting off in the main rail station there, in the Amtrak, it's like the most beautiful city. This was in 2003.
Best city in the world, I say.
It was beautiful, and the people were, it was a young city. I got the impression there were a lot of young people there. I was younger then. We're talking almost 20 years ago, so we're in 2003. I was just really impressed, and I've never gotten a chance to go back. And now, you'd have to airdrop me in Halo, like in that Godzilla movie, today to get me to go back in there.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. So maybe, today it's even more relevant. It has a lot of Clive Barker sadomasochistic, trademarks in the movie. I think originally they wanted to go with Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy they went with Eddie Murphy to play the Candyman. They really wanted him to play the Candyman. I don't see it working because we've already talked about Vampire in Brooklyn, and Lord knows I don't want to get into that again.
Right.
But I don't he's done a couple super serious roles. I think one of them he was nominated for an Academy Award for.
He won. He won for Dreamgirls, I believe.
I forgot the name of it. It was recently. And then he did Dolomite.
He got nominated for Dolomite.
Yeah, he hasn't won, but he's been nominated for serious roles. I can't see him in a Clive Barker movie.
No.
Back then in the 90s, he wasn't doing serious roles. He was doing those Beverly Hills Cops
he was doing Boomerang and that kind of stuff. He was playing like the distinguished gentleman.
Right.
He had that story arc where he went from like the short-term con operator where he was like really funny, and then he started playing like the executive. And he was always in a suit. And those movies I didn't think were quite as good. But
and the thing is, like, I'm sure we'll definitely get into it when we talk, Tony Todd, he wouldn't have fit because there's a certain type of, Candyman does brutal things, but there's a certain type of like elegance and class to Candyman, the way he holds himself, the way he speaks, his dialogue. And I just don't see Eddie Murphy being able to pull that off. I could be wrong, but at least in 1992, not at all.
Well, at that time, Eddie Murphy was the biggest black African American actor out there, so I think
it's like the
that has a
Hollywood
lot to
Shuffle.
do with it to pull them in to come and see it.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood Shuffle all over again. They're looking for an Eddie Murphy type, that kind of thing. We should cover that sometime. The Hollywood Shuffle. This show awesome. Isn't necessarily about movies, but about comedies. But that's an exceptional flick. So they end up going instead with Tony Todd,
which I'm so happy they did. He's brilliant, and he's just
I love creepy. Tony Todd. Tony Todd broke into fame about 2 years before that as the lead role in the remake of the Return of Night of the Living Dead, the color version, and people were like, "Holy shit, who's this guy?"
He was real good in it.
That was a worthy remake that they did there. It was respectful, and Tony Todd hit it out of the park. He's also, and I think maybe I can't remember which of you just said this, but he has gravitas.
Yes,
he has.
Class.
He's a stage actor also. And I think as of 3 months ago, he announced that even though some things are in post-production, he's pretty much retired from movies because he wants to spend time with his family. He's 67 years old now, but also because he's going back to the stage.
Okay, cool.
I think he wants to spend his remaining time on the stage, which, I mean, that would be great to see Tony Todd on the stage. He's done Shakespeare. Quite a number of the classic, I think, like the classic tragedies, some of the Greek tragedies, that kind of thing. He even is the lead role in an audiobook version of Dracula.
Really? I was going to say his voice is incredible. Right underneath of James Earl Jones, his voice was like the voiceover throughout this whole movie. Every time he spoke, it just like sent chills down my spine.
See, and Mike said it perfectly, like Shakespeare, because like I said, he's got this feel about him. I mean, he's dressed classy as fuck. He's got that overcoat. He's got the slacks, the shiny shoes. He looks great. He walks slow, prim and proper, hands behind his back when he's slowly walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's great is he has this, and this is like a key thing of Barker. They could be the most bloodiest things in the world, like Hellraiser or whatever. They always have this really cool, exaggerated type of dialogue. And if you have the perfect actor to speak it, it sounds like it's right out of a Shakespeare play. And you add that dialogue with, like Rod said, like James Earl Jones, he's got this deep voice, but Tony is also pretty raspy too.
Yeah.
So no one can like imitate him. You know what I mean? Because he's got that distinct voice, and it's just like lightning in a bottle, all that shit together.
I was thinking the same thing with Rod, that his voice is just under James Earl Jones. Just under James Earl Jones. Hold on a second. We got some comments here. We've got Slasher Fred. Thanks for stopping by, saying Candyman is such a classic. And he says, I've noticed that in the Night of the Living Dead remake, the character of Ben becomes an actual zombie, while in the original, he is mistaken for one at the end. Now, I haven't seen that remake in quite a while. I'm pretty sure you can find it on any of the streaming services. I'm going to have to give that another look again. But I remember Tony Todd, he did an X-File, one of my favorite X-Files, where he plays a Vietnam vet who's been experimented on so that he doesn't have to sleep.
I think he's in Platoon as well, isn't he?
He's in Platoon.
He is in Platoon. Yeah, that's where I remember him from.
He's in Platoon. He was in Colors. He was in 84 Charing Cross Road, which is just a fantastic movie. He was in Lean on Me. He was Morgan Freeman's security guard in the school.
Yep, I remember when I watched that for the podcast. Oh, he was so good.
He was in The Crow.
Yes, he was.
He was in The Rock. He was in Wishmaster, and he was in Final Destination.
Yep.
He's in one of the Prophecy movies later on. I think Prophecy 3 or Forsaken or something like that. One of the really awful ones. He had the lead role in The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, although I didn't see that one. It's quite a list. It's quite a list. And if he's ever at one of the cons, he's one of the people I would love to meet. You know,
but
just
he's
to
known
shake
for
his,
Candyman.
yeah. This is the role that he is most known for. He said it's the role he's most proud of because he always wanted to do a Phantom of the Opera type role. And that's kind of what this is. You know, it's like an urban Phantom of the Opera story.
Yeah.
You know, where he's not in it a great deal, but when he is, he steals every scene, even from Virginia Madsen, which isn't easy to do.
Yeah, this movie is what, maybe 90 minutes. He's maybe added together 15.
20. Yeah, I'd say I was going to say 20, but 15
15,
probably.
20.
Yeah, and Rod and I were just talking yesterday in Godzilla that the complaint about that movie was that Godzilla wasn't in it enough.
But he was in this just enough.
Yeah, he was in this
it
just
wasn't
enough.
a gory slashy where a Freddy Krueger type thing. You see him cutting up everybody up a whole movie, and that's what I appreciated about it.
It was grotesque. A lot of it was implied. Some of it was seen, but a lot of it was also implied, which I thought was better.
Yes, because
it left it to your imagination to see, like when they tell the story of what happened to him and how and we'll get into that in a minute. You don't see it,
right?
And I thought that while I'm watching it, I'm like, are they going to show this, or are they just going to let me think about it? And they let me think about it.
And they were smart because with a lot of this off-screen stuff, they still are really good at using sound effects. So that's going to help you create that visual in your mind.
Yeah, there's that background of the screaming and it's very faint, but you can hear it.
I love that scene. Love that.
They have really good use of like squishy noises and like tearing noises. So you know he's got a hook, so that helps you imagine just what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We also got Virginia Madsen. It was a powerhouse in her own right. We've talked about Virginia
great
Madsen here. Oh, she's always great. We talk about Virginia Madsen in The Prophecy. She's great in that. But she said this is the role that she's most known for also, especially when she's in the airport. She's like, people come up to her all the time. She's like, she's always wanted her own, like Singing in the Rain or, what's that? It's a Wonderful Life type thing. She goes, but I ended up with a really cool Halloween movie. And she's like, yeah, that works for me. That totally, because she also crosses the line out of horror, but she's also known for a lot of movies within this genre.
And it's cool to see that she's proud of this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got a lot of, I mean, I don't want to say she's not big time, but she's not a real big time, big name actress, but she's she's classy.
Not Meryl Streep. Yeah.
Exactly. But you see a lot of these actors and actresses who kind of shun the fact that a lot of their early roles or their big roles were horror movies, and it's always cool to see that Virginia Madsen she's never once negatively talked about this film being attached to it, and she still is proud of it. And she should be.
Yeah, she should absolutely. It said she was friends with the director and his wife at the time. And she was Virginia Madsen was originally scheduled to play Bernadette, the friend. But that didn't happen. Yeah. Let's see. The choice was made to make the character Bernie black, so she lost the part. But then the woman who was scheduled, was it the director's wife, Pig, discovered she was pregnant, so the role of Helen was offered to Madsen.
That's just luck.
The great choice when you're talking about the socioeconomic, effect of this, because having Virginia Madsen play that role, going to Caprini Green, walking around there so confidently and like she didn't give a shit, that really added to the whole effect of the film. Of following her.
Talk about that some more. What do you mean by that?
Well, she's from that college. She had a thesis statement, and you wouldn't normally see her in Cabrini Green. Right. You don't. I mean, I've never been there. Neither of them you would see, but her, not at all. And she seems like her friend was more scared, and her friend was black, was more scared than Virginia was. She just walked right in, was taking pictures, crawling through the hole in the wall, all that, and just not caring. And I think like I said, it just added an effect to it where it's like, why is she so stupid? The whole thing about when it comes to black people, and we were talking about Nope yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's not going through that hole. I thought of that. That today when Bernadette sees her. She's like, "No, I'll wait out here. Thanks." I think she's smoking
not
a
at
cigarette.
all. Nope.
Yeah, nope. Ain't gonna happen. Nope.
So I mean, I really enjoyed the fact that the character ended up being a white lady and crawling through and walking around, because it added a bigger effect to the whole situation, the whole movie.
And the way that she played it, she wasn't dismissive. She was almost naive. She was almost naive
or ignorant.
Yeah, she played. Yeah, I wouldn't go so. I would. For me personally, I would say ignorant is a little strong.
Okay.
She just sort of plays it innocently.
Yeah,
she's like, no, what are you talking about? There's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, she doesn't realize how dangerous it really could be.
Yeah, she's kind of like a babe in the woods.
Yeah, and she's definitely looked at as a white, not just a white person, but a white woman in Cabrini Green. She's looked at as a total outsider.
Well, she's looked at as a cop.
Exactly.
When she first got there, exactly.
Yeah, because fear, like, she doesn't do it arrogantly,
right?
But she just kind of waltzes in there, and she, they figure she's a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Because
the baby's mother kind of talk about the fact that she's a white woman walking around here, saying the only people, if you see a white woman walk through here, something negative is about to happen. If you're a cop or you're a social worker coming to take a child away or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's done in a sort of matter-of-fact way. It's not necessarily an accusing thing. Like, the statement is made, there's some anger behind it, but then you get back to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't make a difference at all the rest of the movie. Yeah.
That's what I really like about this film is, a lot of this movie is about race, and I don't know if differences is the right word, you know what I mean? But a lot of this is white and black, and they don't beat you over the head with this. They make their point very subtly. You get it, and then, like you said, you can move on with the story. Like, if we get to it or not, there's a scene where she's assaulted, and she says, a white woman gets assaulted in the ghetto, and the cops are right there. That one line makes the point. But then
it's also all they needed.
They move on.
It's all you need, because it's about the horror.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's about the horror. It's not about a social message.
Right, and that's in my opinion, that's how social commentary is done well. They make their point subtly, maybe sprinkled out through here and there, but it's not just boom, 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 boom in your face. Yeah. This got the message totally perfect.
Yeah, that's if it's done the other way, that's done on purpose,
right?
But that's the point of the writing there. Here, the point of the writing is the horror.
Exactly.
So it depends on what you get. And I'm curious as to, Rod has been, like he said, he's been on me to watch the second one. I'm curious to see what a Candyman movie from last year is going to look like. I'm curious to see. So another thing that came up was that if Virginia Madsen had declined the part, they were looking at Sandra Bullock. That would have been interesting. Yeah, because we've seen Sandra Bullock do horror.
Mm-hmm.
She's done that one, Bird Box. I don't know, 90s. I mean, it certainly would have been.
It was before Speed, before Demolition Man.
Well, I was wondering if it was before Speed or not, because she was known for. She became a known actress after Speed.
Yeah, I think Speed was 94.
Something like that. Yeah, so I think it would have been. But I mean, she's a really solid actress.
Mm-hmm.
She might have been able to pull that off. You might have had a harder time with the husband trope, though, because we'll get into that in a little bit. Hold on, we got another comment here. I like the opening scene with the swarm of bees surrounding the city. Yeah, the Candyman is kind of the Phantom of the Opera, and and he talks about this. He's just a rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like he doesn't have to do anything because he knows he lives in everyone's in Cabrini Green's heads for free.
Mm-hmm.
He lives there rent free. So he's like, I don't have to do anything. And it's kind of a horrible idea because, it's not like Santa Claus. He lives rent free in people's heads. Right. But, you're thinking this is a completely different reason.
As long as you think he exists, he does.
Yeah.
That opening scene set it up really well for the whole movie. He has the one line that sent chills. He says I'm gonna gut him from groin to
gullet.
Groin to whatever he says.
Yeah, groin to gullet.
Groin to gullet. Yeah, and when he said that with the bees swarming and the first image of the bees in the backdrop of Chicago, and you see all these bees coming out, and it kind of set everything up. Wow, that really sent chills down my spine.
And I love the opening shot above just the skyscrapers and stuff like that to that fucking amazing score. You know what I mean? It looks so beautiful, but that score already gives you kind of like a sense of dread of like something bad's on its way. And that's how that fucking movie opens. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's fantastic movie from Philip Glass.
Mm-hmm.
The score from Glass is just fantastic. They used 200,000 live bees for this movie. I think Tony Todd negotiated $1,000 per bee sting for every bee sting that he got. I think he made $23,000 extra dollars. Which if you're letting that many bees on you, I mean, you kind of could be risking your life.
Mm-hmm.
So
things are in your mouth.
Yeah, I'm not going to hate on him for it,
Nope.
I wouldn't have done it. Nope.
Yeah, you are an actor, so I mean, but I mean that is, he went for it.
Yep.
And now 30 years later, everybody knows, he's Candyman, and I hope, maybe even if he's doing the stage now, one day he'll come back to the cons, because I'd love to meet him one day, just to shake his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Madsen, allergic to bees. They had to use babies, baby bees that didn't fly or didn't sting, that hadn't developed at that point. So a lot of details to make this happen. Practical effects, on things happening on the ground, real things that 30 years later still hold up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a fat movie. I mean, I like it better than Hellraiser. I haven't seen Hellraiser in a while, but I like it better than Hellraiser. My go-to Barker movie is, and it's his sickest movie as far as I'm concerned, but maybe I haven't seen them all, is not Rawhead Rex. Lord of Illusions.
I love that movie. If you ever talk that movie, you got to talk that sometime.
Okay, we'll get around to it.
It's really good. Oh, I was going to say that one is really good, and Nightbreed's a fun one too. Nightbreed is a very interesting one. It's a typical Clive Barker man dealing with monsters type of thing, and it's a fun one.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. They actually brought what I liked, the scenes between Madsen and Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of brief.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a thing that's happening there. It's almost like a Dracula kind of exchange. And I found out that they actually brought in a real hypnotist.
Yep.
They hypnotized Virginia Madsen with some sort of keyword. So when you see her, she's literally like impaired under this, power, or this, suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
I love all those shots. All those shots are the headshot, and you see it's lit just around her eyes, and her eyes.
And she's like tearing up, and she looks all disoriented. It's because she's actually hypnotized. She's like performing. I mean, that's just so damn cool.
Like Rod said, you got that close up of her face, and to me, she looks like classic beauty. She reminds me of like Michelle Pfeiffer. You know what I mean? Like she belongs in like old Hollywood. You know what I mean? But then you see her beautiful face, but something's not right. Something's not there. It's not clicking, and that just makes it uncomfortable to watch because just something's off. And then, like you said, once the slow tears come, you don't know what's going to happen. And then usually when she's in that hypnotic state, we fade into some horrible image.
Yeah, it's damn good stuff. Hold on a second. John's here, and he says Sandra Bullock and the lead would have given the movie a more innocence quality rather than naiveness. Okay, and he likes Nightbreed. Okay. So one last thing, and then we'll get into this because we haven't even started talking the movie. There was a lot of pushback from like civil rights groups. They didn't like this movie. They didn't like.
Oh,
this
really?
movie. Yeah, they didn't like it because negative stereotypes. There's always somebody who's got racial sensitivity about something.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Somebody somewhere, and like Barker said, the director, Barker and the director, they said they had to go to so many like NAACP meetings.
Yep.
And fine, I think Barker got frustrated, you know, and he was just like, what is the problem here? He's like,
is because a black man is considered a serial killer in the movie?
And he said, why can't a black person be Freddy Krueger?
Right.
Like, why couldn't Tony Todd be Freddy Krueger?
Yeah,
he could.
It's funny nowadays. This movie's embraced by the black community. But at least I know a lot of my friends love Candyman. No,
I don't
every
know anybody
talked about that.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that hates Candyman, but I think you've always got some eggheads.
Yep.
That always have to have you try to kiss the ring.
And see that a lot of what people didn't realize is we see this a lot. People protest the movie before it comes out. They didn't realize they didn't know the tragic backstory of Candyman and why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
there's a reason to it. He's not just hacking up. He's not a black man just hacking up white people for the hell of it. You know what I mean? He's got a reason to it, and they were shitting on it before it even came out.
It's a sad fact of life. There's always, some people do that by profession. And from all different, races and whatever's, but there are just people out there, they do that by profession. All right, let's get into the movie. So Virginia Madsen is a thesis student, and she's working on a thesis pertaining to, with her friend Bernadette, urban legends. Gojira, Loch Ness Monster, Yeti, Bigfoots, this, that, and the other. She's focusing on, or has stumbled into one right there in the city of Chicago, the Candyman, who haunts this housing project, Cabrini Green. And, it's a little something right there where, they're the students, Bernadette, what's Virginia Madsen's character's name in the movie? Helen. They're there, they're students, well-dressed, The cleaning ladies are from Cabrini Green.
Yeah. He's one of them.
Yeah, they completely talk differently. Oh, he from Cabrini, he live in Cabrini Green, and they're showing you that separation, and it's very subtle, but the change in the dialect and the regionalisms, and the way that they speak, separates that they're in the same building, but just in completely different worlds. So, Helen and these two get plugged into this story of this man who is sort of the Phantom of the Opera. He's the Phantom of Cabrini Green, and like everybody in there knows that he's in there somewhere, and they're all terrified of him. So, like you said, Helen decides they're going to Cabrini Green. No problem. Let's just go.
After they hear the story, she gets really intrigued. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's another thing too, because I think I don't know if you had seen Cabrini Green at this point, but then they have this, dinner at this nice restaurant, and they're drinking nice wine, and that one snobby asshole.
Yeah.
Who just, he's like almost a stereotype. Some stereotypical academic who tells the story of the Candyman. And I think in Barker's story, it was colonial England that this had happened. Here, it's post-Civil War about a free man and after the Civil War who is well-educated and well-liked in polite society. But he steps over the line and decides to have an interracial relationship with a prominent white man's daughter. And then suddenly they're not friends anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they
chopped off his hand, killed him.
Yeah, they hire all these, like monsters to like hack him to pieces and douse him in bees. And so the bees sting him to death after they saw his hand off.
Yeah, they cover him with the honey.
Honey.
So the bees sting him to death. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this happens on the land where Cabrini Green is built.
Yeah. Okay. So while that's happening, he's telling the story. She's sort of riveted by the story, and lightly in the background, you can hear the screaming and the yelling and the shouting. They're taking you back there. Less is clearly more. You can hear Tony Todd's voice, even though we haven't seen Tony Todd yet. You can, because he's got a very prominent voice. We've discussed that. As you can imagine, that they're sawing his hand off.
Yep.
They're as they're torturing. And it's very effective, but nevertheless, they're all going to Cabrini, and they go to Cabrini, and
what scared me is them walking in that building. Walking in the building in the hallway up the stairs. That's frightening in itself. Not knowing who they're going to run into, especially when the guy yells 5-0, a cop in the building, you know what I mean? And so they're walking up these stairs and all this stuff. But this shot right here, I love this shot.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Them going up didn't bother me because I figured once they announced 5-0, they were going to be left alone.
Right.
Everybody's just going to give them a wide berth. Because, she's so naive. She just kind of waltzes up there. So they're like, anybody who waltzes up there like that with like no fear, must be somebody, and so she manages to get up there. And this is just a fantastic shot.
I love this shot. And she kind of looks like a bee. The color scheme.
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Okay, a little like a bumblebee or something like that, or a honeybee or something like that. Okay. But I mean that's letting you know right there that she's in the mouth of the belly of the beast. So to speak, and she is that sort of babe in the woods who just has no idea what she's getting herself into. Her friend Bernadette is refusing to do any of this kind of stuff. These sorts of things.
She's chicken shit from the beginning. She doesn't say Candyman 5 times in the mirror like Virginia did, like Helen did. Which is totally why Tony Todd, Candyman, started going after her.
Is this the point? Because I can't remember. Is this the point where she's assaulted, or is it on a second trip?
It's on a second trip because she meets
alone.
She meets Jake, the little boy, and she hears about the small child that was assaulted in the public bathroom.
Yeah, but who? Yeah. Oh, she meets Anne Marie. They meet Anne Marie the first time.
Yes,
the first time she meets Anne Marie.
Yeah, she meets Anne Marie, who's the mother, who's explaining that not everybody what you sort of like you said. When white people show up here, it's usually like nothing's good going to happen for us here. Something bad's going to happen to somebody here.
She's actually decent person in that she wasn't a gang member. She was like just stuck in an unfortunate situation.
She's trying to raise her son Anthony.
Yeah, she even says that outside. She says, "We're not all like those gang members out here." She said, "I'm just here trying to raise my son."
Yeah.
And she's like wearing a waitress uniform and stuff like that. So that's all she's doing.
Yeah, she's got a dog for security. She's trying to just trying to get by. She talks repeatedly in the story about Candyman, and that she dialed 911. Like she's trying to tell you that she did the right thing. Nobody came.
Right.
Yeah.
Dialed 911 again. Nobody came. Because everybody's just kind of thrown in the towel. So I don't know if that's race or if it's class but there's just a huge divide where these people have nobody to represent for them. In the system, so to speak. Like the system only serves to do something punitive,
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of way. She goes back. I mean, she's got a husband who's clearly banging his undergrad students.
Yeah.
You know that right away, too.
Yeah. There's no way that he's not banging his undergrad. He's definitely. I figured that out right away. She ends up going back, and that's the point that she gets assaulted.
Yeah, because she meets Jake, and Jake says that's where Candyman lives. In that public restroom, because he talks to her about the story about the young mentally handicapped kid who was assaulted in there, and he was basically castrated.
Yeah.
And then she went to go in there and to investigate, and then she got assaulted herself.
Yeah,
that bathroom was nasty in itself.
That was
turning my stomach. And then that last one, you saw the bees. She saw the bees in the last one.
Yeah,
this whole thing. I was like,
well, I mean, that's what happens if you hook someone from the groin to the gullet. I mean, you're just going to rip them wide open, and they're going to get castrated. They're going to get disemboweled, and
But then you it was just a disgusting bathroom, because it was just, you had literal shit all over the walls, words written out in it. It's just, you walk in there, you're not. I'm sorry, I'm going to go behind a building or something like that. I will not go in there. It's one of those.
Exactly.
And then again, what I think is really good with these set designs, like when she's in the city, you know what I mean? When she's in the city, they're really good at making you feel claustrophobic. When she's going into Cabrini Green, she's claustrophobic in those walls, in those rooms. When she's in that public bathroom, she's in a tight space. So you know what I mean? That's what I thought was really good too.
Mm-hmm. She ends up, because I guess they figure out, so she ends up taking a beating.
Mm-hmm.
Because God claims he's Candyman, the head of the gang. He calls himself Candyman, and she's walking around there looking for him. So
doesn't he have a hook?
He's got a hook. He has both hands, but he's holding a hook, and he looks right at her. He says, "I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch," and then he just pops her right in the face.
Yeah, and I mean, her eye is like I mean,
it's swollen shut. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Which I'm glad they didn't really show that really bad beat down. You know what I mean? Because that would have raised a lot of issues right there. You know what I mean? Especially with the whole NCAA coming after him and then showing that. You know what I mean? Just the one punch, and you don't see it. And then they cut right to her in the in the police station. You know what I mean? Being interviewed, but you see her eye, which is bulging and black and shut and closed.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have served the story.
Not at all.
Because the focus here in the story, and I think this is what makes it a superior movie, is on the horror. Setting is in a very fucked up place, but the story is about the Candyman and about Helen. Finally, at about 45 minutes in, we get our first look at Tony Todd. And he's just great. It's a very small scene. It's very slight. It's in a parking garage, but she summoned him, and he goes into the full spiel, and he almost is sort of like a Dracula kind of Phantom of the Opera kind of character. There's a weird sort of vibe that emanates from him. It's malicious, but it's not overly aggressive,
and it's very seductive.
Yeah,
because when she's walking away, and the reason why he's after her, it's not just because she said his name 5 times, because now no one believes in Candyman,
right?
Because she proved it was this gangbanger or whatever he was. I don't know if he actually was really a gangbanger, but either way. So if this guy is Candyman, he's the one assaulting all these people. There's no fear. There's no reason for Candyman to exist. So that's why he's after her. But when they first interact, she's walking away. She's got the pictures, her and Bernadette are having some fun talking, and he just whispers her name. And that's the first time we have anything to do with Tony Todd. Is he's not even on screen. It's just him calling her name. Then she turns around, and like I said, he's standing right there. Is that picture right there in that coat? But you can tell he's got that suit on underneath. And again, he's walking to her slowly, and you can kind of hear his shoes click on the cement ground, and his like I said, his hands are behind his back. from that era. You know, he's prim and proper because he
Yeah.
was like well educated, well respected back then.
Yeah.
He's still got that attitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he comes from some means, at least for the time.
Yeah,
You know,
because
he's like a gentleman. He's like a gentleman.
Because they
in
said
old
his
school.
dad, like he's the son of a slave, but they said his dad, who was a slave, invented something about the production of shoes or something like that. So
Yeah.
he was a slave that came into money.
Yeah.
So he was raised in money. You know
in
what
money,
I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
He
that
just,
shot. I love the fact that when you first see Tony Todd, he's across the parking lot and he's
yeah,
just
he's a
standing there.
silhouette. He's a
A
silhouette
silhouette,
almost.
yeah, and he's not walking towards. He's just talking to her
Mhm.
for a couple of seconds. You know what I mean? But he's that silhouette, and you can see how big and how
Yeah.
intimidating he is just from there.
Mhm.
She's trying to figure it out, trying to see him, and she can't really see his face and whatever, and that effect. And then he slowly starts walking
Mhm.
towards her. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where the hypnosis comes in.
Mhm.
Because that
Yes.
adds to the overall effect, and so she's not really faking.
Mhm.
She's a little impaired. I'm sure it's probably a slight suggestion that they planted whatever it was, but I mean, it definitely comes through in the filming.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's like Dracula. Like when Dracula makes his move on the woman, how she's paralyzed.
Mhm.
She can't really
Yeah.
move, and part of her wants to move away, but then part of her always, the stronger part always comes forward.
Yep.
It's this kind of thing. And I was like, wow, this is really fucking good.
Mhm.
I mean, just well written, well acted, great lighting.
Mhm.
Like you said,
Yeah.
Rod, he just starts to appear a little bit at a time. Yeah, just fantastic stuff. The writing's on the wall. And then it starts to shift into action.
Mhm.
It almost becomes like a horror action movie.
Mhm.
Because she
I'll
ends
do
up
a
back.
horror. I was thinking suspense because you always wanted to see Candyman rip somebody gut out or whatever, but you don't really see it, so it's kind of suspenseful. That where it's Candyman, but they set it up where is it Candyman or is it really her
Mhm.
That's
that's
what
doing
I
all
thought.
this?
I'm like,
Because
yeah,
she's going crazy over this, and she's like, you know what I mean? So in every scene, you see Candyman or he kills somebody, you see her with a knife, you see her with whatever the hatchet and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you don't really, and throughout you don't really know if this Candyman's really like there or was it her doing
Mhm.
all this?
I was wondering if we were going down the Angel Heart route. Where
Mhm.
Mickey Rourke is seeing the murders, but then you find that he's actually been committing the murders all
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
time. And so
Mhm.
she comes back, and it's awful. The dog's fucking head has been cut
Yep.
off. She's holding this enormous meat cleaver. And
Mhm.
then, Anne Marie is screaming in the room. And at first, I thought she had chopped the baby up.
The way
And
they
I'm like,
the way they
because there's
filmed it.
blood
Yep.
just everywhere, and there's
Yep.
blood inside the crib. And I'm like, holy shit. Like,
I know.
she meat cleavered the baby,
Mhm.
and
It's just great suspenseful writing because like Rod said, every time there is an incident, whether it's be it a murder or whether she's when she's in the psych ward or whatever and she's freaking out, she's usually by herself.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
get rid of all the sequels, any backstory like that, you could look at it as in a way that she's doing this all herself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is also great writing.
And she bears, and they don't focus on this very much, like Stoker's Dracula. She bears a resemblance to the white woman when you see the mural on the wall that he was originally involved with. So there is like a sexual attraction there. It's a weird sexual attraction because it's more like a there's body horror and all these other different types of things happening, but that's intertwined in it too. And it's sort of all just kind of congealed together, so that no one thing sort of is ever really highlighted.
Right.
And that's just fantastic. Yeah. Unlike Stoker's Dracula, where, Candyman and Helen would be having a candlelit dinner.
Right.
And they'd be ballroom dancing next, or something like that. And okay. So it's like you said, it's fantastic writing. Your disbelief destroyed the faith of my congregation. I think he tells her that in the psych ward.
Yes.
Destroyed the faith of my congregation. And you're absolutely right, Eric. By arresting the gang leader, he's Candyman. Oh, so we got nothing to worry about anymore. And so, like, Tony Todd's like, he's not just the victim of a violent crime. He's become like a malevolent killer. Tony Todd's an evil, but the Candyman is an evil bastard. He wants those people to be afraid. And it's funny because, you could have played it in such a way where he was like, persecuting white people because of what had happened to him.
Yeah.
But what he ends up doing is scaring his own congregation. And the people that just happen to be living in that tenement.
On that land where he got killed. Yeah.
On that land, but he doesn't differentiate. Okay, same skin color. Sorry, you're getting gutted.
Victims of victims.
Little boy, you're getting gutted. Sorry, the world wasn't right with me. I'm not going to be right with you.
Yeah.
So he's not. He plays it great, but he's not an anti-hero. He's a clear villain.
Yes.
The Candyman is just a straight up villain, and sometimes I like that.
And that was great because he started as the victim and then became the villain.
And
I like that sometimes. Nowadays, everybody becomes like the sympathetic, villain. That's they find a way to humanize, this sort of thing. Not here. It's just very, very clearly cut. He cut off the head of a dog. He castrated a little boy. He's kidnapped a baby. He's framed this woman for murder.
They try to set it up with the story that he was persecuted himself, that he was tortured himself, but they didn't cover that. I like the fact that they covered that early on. So, but when you see all these things happen and you kind of forget about that, it's like he's just a straight up evil, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe he was made that way, but for whatever reason, that don't matter to the people in Cabrini Green.
They
didn't do anything to him.
Right.
He's just venting on everybody. You're in my way. And it's kind of like that. And he tells them.
Well, he's not. Did he murder a lot of people prior to this whole thing? I can't recall. I think, like you said, his congregation kept his story.
I don't think he murdered people as long as they were afraid of him. That's all he wanted. I think he wanted to be. He wanted to be the boogeyman.
Yeah.
I got the impression.
Even the kid, he didn't kill the kid. He just castrated him.
Okay.
From what I grew.
I don't know. See, I always took it as because this was a story that Jake was telling the kid who was castrated. I always took it as the guy pretending to be Candyman assaulted the boy. I didn't take it as Candyman himself assaulting the boy.
Oh, really?
That's how. At least that's how I look at it.
I took it in such a way as I thought that sporadically he just does something to remind people that he's
still there. Okay.
He's still around.
So I thought that kid got castrated by Candyman.
Okay.
And just because you're going back post Civil War, so you're talking 130 years. Maybe every 10 years or so, he's just going to kind of remind, like the Phantom of the Opera. He's not in it a great deal. And we covered 2 of those for the show, me and Ryan. But he's in any of the versions that I saw, he's not in it a lot. But he's there enough to remind somebody that somebody's around here that, you got to be on your toes about. Go ahead for a second. I got to...
Well, no, I think but that's what I like about it is like he just wants to be feared, and that's his own meaning for existence. Like he would have left Helen alone if she wouldn't have solved this, Candyman situation in Cabrini Green, and now he's motivated to mess with her because it's cat and mouse. Yeah,
she summons him several times. So
the first time she didn't think it was real. The second time she summoned him was to prove to the doctor in
Right.
the psych ward that he's real. All right,
And you
don't
saw it.
believe me?
Yeah, and he proved it all right. Much to her dismay, because he just starts, dissecting the doctor.
Yeah, and so, I think that's the only time we actually see him gut somebody until like maybe the end. But again, it's gory, but not overly gory, which is surprising because maybe it's because Barker didn't direct it himself, but because Barker is known for his gore.
Yeah.
Again, it's Bernard Rose using the sound effects that makes it more effective to me. You hear
the ripping sound, going through it, the breaking bones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the other things I loved about it was that you find out I love that they did this just in a sentence. You find out that she's ended up spending a month in that psych ward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
a whole month passes, and I'm just like that shifted like a lot of perspectives for me. You're like, damn, she's.
Especially when she goes home and she sees how her living room is already being repainted and everything like that.
Yeah, that was it Trevor, her husband?
Yeah. Well, you already knew he was a piece of shit, because even if they didn't do the whole "I'm sleeping with my student" thing, just the way he looked at his student as she walked away, you already knew something was going on. But they're already showing that they just really want to torture Helen in this. Not only is her best friend is killed, she's being framed for this and that.
That's right.
Now, now she's in the psych ward. So Trevor doesn't just kick her out of the house or this and that. His wife is in a psych ward. He's already basically got his side chick moving in. They're already painting over the house.
And she's in there for like a double homicide. It's not like a divorce.
Exactly.
It's not like a divorce or a separation or something like that. Like his wife has just murdered or been accused of murdering her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
she would have been in there for years. She might have never got out of the psych ward and never gone to jail because of the whole the reasons behind the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, he's quite a character. He's old Trevor. He's quite a character. I found one flaw in the story, and maybe you guys can see through it.
Her getting back to Caprini Green from the psych ward without anybody catching her.
No, it's a big city. I'm sure there are tons of criminals at large roaming the streets all the time. Although it's Virginia Madsen,
but not a serial killer.
At that point she's killed 2 people and a dog. Mm-hmm. She's killed Barney, the doctor, and the dog,
and the doctor.
Possibly kidnapped a baby.
Yeah, and possibly kidnapped. Yeah, because they don't know where the baby is. At this point, they have to probably assume that the baby is dead because it's been a month.
Right.
Yeah.
No, she discovers in the slides of the photographs that she took the image of Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
And she never tells anybody. She's like, she could have easily said, "Hey, that's the guy right there. Like I've been telling you about. Here's this. This is what he looks like." I mean, it wouldn't have helped, but I'm not sure why they. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably completely forgotten about the fact that she had him in the slides because of all of the batshit stuff that's already happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was right before. That was right before. Wasn't that right when her best friend came over?
I think it was.
She looked at the slide. She was home alone, and then her best friend came over, and then her best friend got gutted.
Bernadette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But she tells her not to come in.
Yeah.
She tells her not to come in, and she hears it through the door, and she comes in anyway. And then your next thing, Bernadette's been hacked up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess she had all that time to say something.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and then it's too late. Yeah, you're right. So I mean, she escapes. She kind of deals on her husband a little bit, or at least gives him a good scare.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's back to Cabrini Green. What happens? She confronts the Candyman. who promises
I love the shot when Candyman's carrying her across, like her dead body. You know what I mean? Her lifeless body, and he's walking. And I don't know. He's such a broad back. I just love the image of him behind us walking away carrying her.
He's just a huge, imposing man, is what he is.
Yeah, and he's a good actor. He's a good actor, so it's not like you know, I was going to say Dave Bautista, but maybe that's an insult to Dave Bautista because he's improving. He's improving a little bit at a time. You know, he has a little bit of range. But yeah, I mean, you put those things together. It's a shame about Tony Todd that he hasn't had more, you know, A-list roles. It would have been nice to see. I mean, you know, and this is, you know, I'm very grateful for what we've gotten from Tony Todd. You know, like I said, he's going to be 68 years old or something, you know, this year or something like that. You know, it would have been cool though if we, you know, he had gotten a couple of, you know, big A-list kind of things that, you know, a Denzel sort of thing, or, you know, that kind of thing, or just any. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. But the thing is, what is really, really cool is in the horror genre, he is an iconic character. You know, in a genre that, like, because like you always say, Mike, usually after like parts 2, you don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
There's really only, I think there's 4 Candyman movies, which is small considering the other franchises. But if you think about it, he's still a recognizable, you know, horror movie villain in a genre that has hundreds of them.
Yeah, and he's done a lot more. I mean, he did, like you said, we did Night of the Living Dead. He's done a number. He's in The Crow. You know, he's done a number of horror movies. He was in The Rock. He was great in The Rock as the sergeant.
And Final Destination was a big franchise too, and he's in 2 of those.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely got his horror bona fides. I love that. I mean, again, just great writing. It's time for a new miracle. We're going to show these people a new miracle in the bonfire.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it's rough,
I love
man.
That bonfire.
It is.
It's rough. He's just going to burn everybody up in the. And maybe he wants. You know, you don't focus on it a great deal, but maybe just he wants to die.
He wanted to die with Helen. The bonfire was something that the townsfolk do every year.
Yeah.
And he wanted to die there with her, and I don't understand why he wanted to kill baby Anthony, but if he was just going to be like a sacrificial lamb for them.
I don't think he cared about baby Anthony either way.
Maybe it's just a way to lure her in.
Yeah.
I had the impression that it was some sort of demented family in his mind.
Okay.
A woman, a child, he's the husband and the father.
It makes sense.
And there's some sort of weird, you know.
It makes sense now that you mentioned the family, because the reason why initially his name was Daniel, he was killed was because he got the woman pregnant. He was painting the picture of her, and then they fell in love, and then she got pregnant. So that makes sense that there would be a child involved in this bonfire. I never really put that together until now.
It's some sort of unfulfilled, you know, thing that hasn't happened for him. So, you know, this is like the version of that in hell. You know, where he's just going to light everybody on fire, and I guess they're going to die. But she ends up escaping, and it is just brutal to watch when she's getting cooked in that fire. She's trying to protect
the baby crawling through.
Yeah, and that beam falls across her back, and you can see that sweater go up that she's wearing.
What really
gets her hair.
That's what gets me. She's already been put through fucking hell. And what we see her, she saves the baby as she's crawling out. She's literally cooking. I'm not saying it as a joke. She's literally cooking. She's on fire. And what adds to it is, again, we talked about how beautiful Virginia Madsen is. She's got these beautiful golden curls, and they're just burnt to singes, and that helps sell the pain. That she's going through, because she's a really good actress and she sells it a lot, but the makeup of the burnt scalp and everything just adds to the pain that you feel for her.
See, I like that whole scene because it still asks the fact whether Candyman is real or not. You know, she really grabbed her, and he was really in there, and did he really? He saw his body getting caught fire and getting burned down, and his ashes going down, but You still don't know whether it's Helen or really Candyman doing this.
Well, for me, what I saw was it is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
This baby that has just been missing suddenly appears in the pile of wood.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes me, because we talked about, did Helen do all of this or not? That's the only thing that could possibly show that Candyman was real because of the baby still being alive after a month.
I know, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
I was
the only
that.
thing that would make it seem that Candyman is really doing this, keeping that child alive for a month.
Yeah. And I mean, there it is. There's the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're witnessing a hellish kind of miracle. It's not the miracle that Candyman was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Helen manages to turn the tide on him and get that baby back into his mother's arms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she just, she just suffers for it.
Yeah. It's rough to watch, in my opinion. It really is.
Oh, it is. And in a way, the miracle is, one, the return of the baby, but two, the shifting of the attitude of the people in the congregation about people from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Here is this person that was very suspect, that was beat up, that got rid of the gang member that no one else was willing to speak up about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And has now given up her life in this agonizing way to return baby Anthony back to Anne Marie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that funeral scene. I totally forgot about the whole congregation coming to the funeral at the end, walking up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the boy dropping the hook on the casket. That was a powerful moment.
It starts off very bleak because no one's there. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't think of the baby Anthony's mom's name, but look at this.
Anne Marie.
The pain in her face, but you can also see like the sadness, the pain, but then there's also gratitude in her. And she doesn't say a word. No one says a word in this funeral when all the people from Cabrini are coming to pay respects to Helen. That, again, less is more. And Anne Marie just fucking sells it, holding her baby. It's her way of showing that, hey, her way of saying thank you, you know what I mean? And and
that they're people.
Exactly.
They're people.
They're human. Yeah.
Yes, we're all
They're
humans,
people.
and that's what I like. Is, again, it's, you're not beaten over the head with it. It's very subtle. You can pick it up very easily.
Because the funeral scene starts off very bleak.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody there that loves her. There's nobody. There's her husband.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the priest.
Mm-hmm.
The priest and the other guy who told the story of Candyman. He was there.
Yeah. But you get the impression that there's nobody really there for Helen.
Right.
They're there in this sort of perfunctory kind of role, maybe to support Trevor.
Right.
Who, and even Trevor has no idea like what has actually happened.
Yeah.
And then
in Trevor's mind, she really was crazy.
Yeah. And then this wave of people, comes in, changes the whole thing. It turns it into an enormous service.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they don't say anything, but clearly they're there to pay respects. And that what I got out of it, they're actually free from Cabrini Green.
Mm-hmm.
She's performed a miracle.
Mm-hmm. They're no longer afraid.
They're no longer afraid. She's managed to bridge. I think she's managed to bridge this gap in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's gotten rid of the gang leader.
Mm-hmm.
Which has probably helped. I mean, obviously, she hasn't brought about world peace, but she's done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she returned that baby. And that is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
She has performed a miracle. Now, that's not the end of the movie. The end of the movie has a little bit to do with Trevor.
Yeah, you get that little
situation. Yeah, his
Which they
situation.
had to. I'm so happy they did that. I'm so happy. So I hated Trevor the whole movie.
Oh yeah, that guy always plays a douche. I forget what's his name. Xander.
Xander Berkeley.
Yeah, Xander Berkeley. He always plays an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But Trevor's situation is falling apart already.
Yep.
Because that girl's already bored with him.
Yeah, she's pissed off that he's busy. He's too busy crying in the bathroom to have dinner with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's young. She's
19, 20, something like that.
Yeah, she doesn't see what the big deal is.
Yeah.
If you're coming, she tries a couple of times. She's not yelling or anything like that, but she's like, come on out, let's have some dinner. I need your help to do this. Help me with something. She's trying to be reasonable, but you could see that she's already done with his shit.
Yeah, she scoffs a couple times, so you can tell she's frustrated. And again, like Raj, it's also the age. She just doesn't get it. You know what I mean?
She doesn't get it at all.
Yeah, and plus, he's racked with guilt.
Mm-hmm.
He's racked with guilt, and I think. Maybe some self-loathing.
In some sense, I don't know why he felt guilty because he already moved on. You know what I mean? I guess you don't want, even if you moved on, even if you don't ever want your ex-wife or wife to go out like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it was one of those things that he did, and he wasn't thinking.
Mm-hmm.
He was thinking with his dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, he was thinking with his dick.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the humanity of it kind of came crashing down on him.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is dead. And all of this happened really fast.
Yeah.
Suddenly, my wife is dead. She burned to death.
Mm-hmm.
Saved a baby. All these people show up, and kind of, you could see he was kind of ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
To see all those people from Cabrini. He had no idea what to say because he stopped being her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not there for her. And now he's in this other situation, and I think in his mind, the bloom is off the rose.
Yep.
He sees it for what it really is, which is just sleaze.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't, I don't think she quite gets that, but he can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's stuck.
Yeah.
Now he's got himself in this situation. His wife is dead. He's a sleaze bag. And he's with this, kid. And Helen shows up to put him out of his misery.
That was great. I loved it.
And it was so good because, again, it's like I've said, the use of, we see a little bit of blood. We see more blood in the reveal than the actual murder. But again, it's the use of the sound, the use of the lighting in this, because this makes it like a haunted house type of movie, in my opinion. The way the lights are flashing, and the use of the blue and stuff. And I just love the fucking look on Virginia Madsen's face when she shows up to get her revenge on him. Yeah. You can tell she's enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That's what really sells this. She shows up. She says something like, hey, Trevor, did I scare you? Or some throwaway line like that. But the way she uses her voice, she's got like a Joker Cheshire Cat type smile on her face, her eyes, and she just fucking lets him have it. And it's a great way to end the movie.
She's just great. And it's very compact. There aren't really any wasted scenes or anything that you would say is unnecessary. It's a typical fantastic small to mid-budget 90s movie.
Yeah, the flow is great. There's classic. No dragging in it either.
No, great score.
Kept you in suspense the whole time. It kept you connected in there. Not like, okay, when's he's gonna get? Let's get to the end when he gets caught. No, it's more like trying to figure it out the whole time of who it's do. Is this really Candyman? What's he about? Why is he doing this? The whole thing just keeps pulling you in and in and in until the very end.
Yep.
Clive Barker's stories have they have a sharper edge than Stephen King's stories. In that they go a little further to the wall. They go further to not little further. They go further to the wall than the average Stephen King story. They tend to be bloodier. There's more of a portrayal of there's more suffering that's depicted, this kind of thing, and he gets it right a lot of the time. His books are really fantastic. I think Neil Gaiman wrote that book, American Gods. But for my money, somebody turned me on to a book by Clive Barker called The Great and Secret Show, which is part one of a trilogy that he still hasn't completed. The second one was Everville. But The Great and Secret Show, to me, beat the hell out of American Gods. At least I thought so. I'm a big Clive Barker fan. And you're right. We got to get to Lord of Illusions.
Yeah, I've got a ton. I can't reach them from here, but I can see I've got 1, 2, 3 or 4 Barker books. Cold Heart Canyon is one. I've got the Hellbound Heart, which is what Hellraiser is based off. And then I got the first collection of the Books of Blood, and then like he's got 2 volumes of that because there's 6 total, and in Volume 2, which is 4, 5, and 6, that has the Forbidden in it.
Yeah. Okay. I've got those. I've got those on Kindle. For some reason, I bought them on Kindle, and so I don't fire up the Kindle very often. But maybe I will sometime soon. That's also got the story from Lord of Illusions with the Harry D'Amour character. Harry D'Amour is in The Great and Secret Show. I think he's in Everville. Everville.
And then there's one called The Scarlet Gospels where Barker brought back Pinhead, and Harry D'Amour is thrown in there as well.
Yeah, they throw him into hell. Yeah, with D'Amour. Yeah, that's a fantastic story. It's really good stuff. Has anybody seen 2 and 3?
Yes.
Are they what I think they would be?
I'll just say I don't think they'll be your cup of tea, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. I figured it's going to be content for content's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Me, I don't mind them. I mean, my taste in horror varies. For me, it would be like I'm gonna put it on, Sunday when I'm like fucking doing laundry or cleaning the house type of thing.
In the background, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't think you would enjoy it personally.
Okay.
Well,
you never know.
The new version of Candyman kind of skips over 2 and 3.
Yes, the new one.
Is it a reboot?
It's a direct sequel.
Oh, is it really?
Direct sequel of the original one, yeah.
Yes, it is a direct sequel.
Okay. Well, we've got that lined up for July 6th. So that's the only movie. July 4th is a Monday. So we're going to do one. We weren't going to do anything, but then Rod and I were talking, and we're going to put in for that one. And we'll just do one for that week because I kind of, just have some time off. That kind of thing. And that'll be something to look forward to. That's on right now. I may actually watch it now and then watch it again while this one is still fresh in my mind.
That would help, and I won't give you any spoilers, but it would help to have the original fresh in your mind.
Okay. So maybe over the weekend or something like that, I'll check it out. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. You know what I liked? One thing that we praise the acting of Virginia and Tony. I really liked the acting of Anne Marie, that actress. She was really good. And what I really loved, honestly, is I liked how the obviously it might be something silly, but the chemistry between Helen and Bernadette, these actresses gelled well. You could tell they were friends. You know what I mean? When they were going into Cabrini Green, you could tell Bernadette was scared. She didn't want Helen to go in there, but she was also dead set. I'm not fucking going in there. But then I also loved how they would, when they were doing like the Candyman thing, like in the mirror, Bernadette would like kind of spook her and stuff like that. They really came off as friends, and that's just great chemistry.
Her name is Cassie Lemons.
Okay.
Cassie
Lemons.
Which really I've seen her in a lot of different movies.
That whole chemistry really helped, when she actually got killed in the movie.
Yes, because you actually cared for her.
Yeah. That was a surprise. That was kind of a surprise to me. The fact that she died in the movie. I didn't remember that when I saw it. Yeah.
For me, I ended up buying a copy when we said we were going to do this because I couldn't find it streaming. And I think I found, I think it's on Amazon for $5 or something. Like you can buy DVD. It's not something that it's not streaming anywhere right now for anybody who's watching this. But you could find a cheap copy on Amazon for $5. And they'll send it to you the next day, and it's worth owning.
Oh, absolutely.
It's worth. I'm really glad. With a lot of the movies that Rod and I have covered, I ended up with a copy of Get Out because that had left the streaming services. A couple of other things we've covered. I ended up. Luckily, I didn't buy Children of the Corn.
He'll never let it go, Rod. He'll never let it go.
I know Mike. I know he's never gonna let it go.
Nor should I. Nor should I. But we did. What else? We did a Silver Bullet, and we did Carrie.
Yes.
And so I ended up buying Carrie because we were covering Carrie. And I'm like, I don't have any De Palma in my collection. I definitely need to have Carrie. Yeah, let's get Silver Bullet too. Somewhere around Halloween, it'll be fun to pop in. Once a year, you watch it, that kind of thing. But Rod's recommendations, for the most part, have been solid. So yeah, it's good to have them on.
Except for Children of the Corn, and I'm sorry about that.
Except for Children of the Corn.
See, the thing
but that's a fantastic book. It's a great short story. It's a phenomenal short story.
But it's like this, Rod. With every great, 3 or 4 recommendations, you're allowed a Children of the Corn every now and then.
Thanks, Barry.
It's fun.
I got you, man. Don't worry.
It's Bill. I think Bill had me watching fucking Horror Express one time with fucking Telly Savalas. And I remember it's
is
like
that the movie? Is that when Telly Savalas becomes a zombie or something?
Yeah, he's a Cossack, and he comes
that
out
scared
like
the hell out of me as a kid. After I saw that, I could not watch a Telly Savalas movie ever again.
And nor should
that scared the hell when the white, his bald head and the white of his eyes. I couldn't watch that. I hated Telly Savalas.
I remember that movie's like 88 minutes, and like an hour into it, I texted Bill, and I'm like, dude, this fucking movie. That's all I said. And he's like, I know, right? I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Made me watch this fucking thing. Jesus Christ.
He knew what he was doing.
He was like, what in that fucking, because it has Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. So I was like, oh, okay. Hammer. It's not Hammer. It's not fucking Hammer. Not Hammer at all. But there you go. It actually would have been, if I was still doing something shitty, it would have been something on something shitty. But, you actually did get to see Peter Cushing tell some jokes. So that was, Peter, I'm like, did Peter Cushing just tell a fucking joke? Because that's against type. Like, that never happened.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, okay. All right. Okay. I think this is because I don't know about for here, it's almost 11:30. This is as good a place as any to bring it to a close. Eric, plug something.
Let's see here. Let's plug something that's good.
Eric, plug everything. Don't be modest.
All right. Well, you can find me on YouTube when I'm not hanging here with Mike. Hey, Internet, Eric here. I do random YouTube videos. I just uploaded a video about a movie that is not quite as good as this. My latest review is on Vamp because I'm still doing my vampire movie retrospective. It's that vampire movie strip club Grace Jones type of thing. It's something. But I did tell Mike coming up soon with my vampire retrospective, I will be doing Interview with a Vampire, and then I'm going to tackle the From Dusk Till Dawn trilogy. So that's what I got coming up so far.
I've Rod, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've told Eric to get on the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy, the one with Noomi Rapace. I don't know if you've seen it.
Never seen it. I've always wanted to.
Yeah, he was texting me the other day.
I've got them on Blu-ray extended versions. That's how much I fucking love those movies.
Wow. Okay, I'll check it out.
They're on Tubi right now.
Okay.
Okay. Tubi right now for free. So not the extendeds, but you can catch the regulars. Rod, you got anything to plug?
Nope.
Get the fuck off my
That's what I'm plugging. Go see Nope.
I missed you, Rod.
Yeah.
Nothing for me to plug.
Yeah, all right.
This is what I do. It's what I
cut his mic. I feel like
do.
Bill O'Reilly. Cut his mic. Cut his mic.
This is where you kick him out of the stream, right?
Yeah, get the hell off the program. Jesus Christ. Stick around afterwards. I'm going to talk to both of you. All right. Next week, what has the show got in store? On Monday.
Yep.
We have our first ever and only, because you can only do a top 5 for one list one time. Our top 5 guilty pleasure movies. And that's going to be interesting. I'm sure that's going to be a fucking shit show.
Especially with the group involved, that's for sure.
Yeah, that will bring Ryan back, you, me, John, and Patrick.
And you can see Mike's eyes roll right now, can't you?
Yeah, my fucking corneas are going to detach from all the fucking eye rolling. Jesus Christ, I'm just going to have a fucking bottle of Jameson like right here at the fucking screen as you guys are talking about how great these fucking movies are. But I've got my 5 in there too, and so yeah, it's all good.
I'll send mine within the next day or so.
Sounds good. On Wednesday, we have a live stream as we tackle part 3 out of 6 of the Monsterverse, and we're going with 2016's their last live-action Godzilla movie, Shin Godzilla. 2016, Japan is still doing suit animation Godzilla, and it's just fucking glorious to watch. It's a fantastic movie. And then on Thursday, I'm going to have a first-timer on the show. I'm going to have Ben from Cadaver Club.
Oh, Ben's awesome.
Yeah, he is. And we're going to be covering a hardcore fucking horror Western. We're talking Kurt Russell in Bone Tomahawk.
I've never seen that. I'll try to watch that so I can watch you guys.
That is a legit as fuck movie. It might be on Tubi right now.
Okay.
My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Of course.
My thanks to Radical Rod.
Anytime.
I will see you again when we come back for Candyman again. And then you're going to be doing some of the crime movies. Summer of Crime kicks off 2 weeks from today. We're starting with The Dark Knight.
I think I'll do Kings of New York before that.
Yeah, we're doing The King of New York, and I think you're in for one more, but I can't remember. I'll have to look at the schedule, because the ones that I have you in for, they start at 10 o'clock. That's how I know it's you.
Okay.
So I look at the week in advance, and I give everybody a heads up. My thanks to everybody for stopping in the comments. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a good weekend, everybody. Guys, stick around after the outro.
Cheers.